You've seen them, right? All over the internet. These viral health hacks and life hacks that sound just plausible enough to be true. Well, one of the most stubborn ones, and maybe one of the most interesting, involves a certain tropical fruit. This is it, the big question, the one that's launched 1,000 Reddit threads and countless online debates. Is there any actual science behind this idea that eating pineapple can change your body's, well, let's just say your flavor profile? So this is the core claim you see everywhere. The idea that chowing down on some pineapple will directly sweeten up your bodily fluids. It's a piece of internet folklore that's been repeated so many times, it's basically become accepted as fact. But today, we're going to find out if the science actually backs that up. Okay, so before we just go and bust this myth, we gotta ask, why did it even catch on in the first place? And it turns out, there is a tiny kernel of scientific plausibility here that makes the whole idea seem pretty convincing. So what's actually in a pineapple that could supposedly do this? Well, you've got the obvious stuff, like natural sugars and acids. But it also has this unique enzyme called bromelain, which is known for helping break down proteins. So in theory, this mix of compounds is what people point to as the magic ingredients. For this whole thing to even be possible, any food you eat has to go on a pretty wild ride. First, you eat it. Then it gets digested and broken down into smaller parts. Those parts get absorbed into your bloodstream, and from there, they can subtly influence the chemical makeup of your body's byproducts. So the biological pathway, it definitely exists.
And look, we've all experienced this in some way, haven't we? We know for a fact that eating a bunch of garlic can affect your body odor. Certain spices can change the smell of your sweat. And, alcohol has a scent that goes way beyond just your breath. So, if these really potent foods can have an effect, it seems logical that a sweet fruit could too, right? Well, this is where that simple, neat little theory crashes right into the super complex reality of human biology. It's just not as straightforward as sweet in, sweet out.
Because, while that theory sounds great, your body is an incredibly sophisticated machine. It has its own set of priorities, and trust me, it's not easily swayed by a slice or two of fruit.
And the biggest reason why is this one. Really powerful concept, homeostasis. Think of it like your body's internal thermostat, or its bodyguard. It is working 24/7 to keep your internal environment, we're talking pH, temperature, all your chemical balances, in a very narrow and stable range. It's literally designed to resist big swings from outside things, like your lunch.
So what really moves the needle then? Well, your overall diet, what you eat day in and day out, accounts for a massive 60% of the influence. Then you have hydration and even your genetics playing huge roles. And that one piece of fruit, it's way down there, contributing maybe 1%. Its impact is just completely dwarfed by these much bigger, more consistent factors.
And that brings us to the hard data, or the lack of it. For all the personal stories and anecdotes floating around online, there just isn't any strong, consistent, repeatable scientific evidence that shows pineapple, by itself, causes any kind of dramatic change.
So, after looking at the theory on one hand and the biological reality on the other, where do we land? Is this whole thing just a complete myth, or is there maybe something else going on here?
The most accurate answer is probably that any effect is, well, it's a far cry from the magic bullet the internet promises. If there is a change, it's going to be incredibly mild, it's definitely temporary, and it's going to vary wildly from person to person based on their own unique body chemistry.
So let's put it simply. Eating pineapple is not like flipping some kind of magic flavor switch. Not at all. At the absolute best, it might be a tiny nudge in one direction. It is not a dramatic transformation. Calling it a hack is a huge overstatement.
And that really brings us to the real takeaway. If you want to influence your body chemistry for the better, forget about focusing on one single food. The true hack is just consistency, a healthy, balanced diet, and drinking plenty of water. That is what makes a real, lasting difference. So, pineapple might not be the magic fruit of internet legend, but debunking the myth kind of reveals a more important truth about our overall health. It really makes you wonder, what other widely believed food myths are out there just waiting for a good explanation?